what's up, everyone? Welcome to the QCX Podcast. My name is Larry Mayberry. I am not Jonathan or Lester, but just doing some guest hosting today, and happy to have Danny Rangel and Olivia Tai joining me. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
What's up?
Woo! I want to get this started before I even introduce you, just with a quick game. So if you're ready to do this, we're going to blind rank some stuff right now. So what's going to happen is I'm going to give you five social media sites in all of history, or some current, some far off. You don't know which ones.
All of history.
In all of history.
In all of the last 20 years.
Yeah, that's right. Some people listening to this weren't even born when the first ones were made. So I'm gonna give you five.
Okay.
In no particular order, but you are gonna each rank them.
Okay.
Of important, but you don't know which one's coming next. So you may end up with one at number one that you don't like. So here we go. You ready for this? All right. Social media site.
How are we ranking them,
number
though?
one.
Out of what?
1 to 5.
1 to 5. Like
you're going to rank them 1 to 5.
Place it
Okay.
without knowing what comes next.
And you can't, once you lock it in, you can't change it. Okay, you ready? And the first one is going to be Vine.
Oh.
5.
Vine is 5? All right,
I would also probably put it at 5.
Okay.
I never really got into Vine a whole lot.
6 second. It's just like what TikTok was fashioned after, right? But TikTok improved.
I mean, I will say the good thing that it did is it made other apps improve, and so.
That's fair.
Yeah, but yeah, I wasn't really like a Vine person.
No.
I wasn't either. Video sharing was that they invented it basically, right? Yeah. Have you seen the Vine channels on TikTok? Now those are good.
Oh no.
Oh,
that?
I didn't even know that existed.
There's people who have repurposed old Vines and they have them on TikTok channel.
That's funny.
Right, and I've heard that a lot where it's like, that video was actually a Vine a long time ago. But
exactly.
It's like,
yeah, so there's nothing new under the sun.
Easy 5.
All right, number five. All right, next one, Instagram.
Oof.
I don't know the other ones.
I know.
I'm so big on Instagram.
One.
I mean, Instagram. Can you not be me? Just kidding.
Number one.
Instagram is my favorite social media app.
Easy one?
Easy one.
Yeah, it's got everything. And they're constantly evolving it. So why wouldn't you?
But they're also the ones who overtake Vine and other people too. So it's
they also copy everyone.
Yeah, other people improve and then they just change it and steal it.
Or buy it. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
But
the other way around.
What I do enjoy is all of that stuff is on one platform, right?
Yeah.
So then it prevents from having to go to other stuff.
And
but
by
then
stuff,
isn't there too much stuff?
So not to spill the beans too much about what we're going to talk about, but some people may be listening to this, they don't even know what you're talking about. So what do you mean by stuff? And steal stuff.
I mean, Instagram started as a just simple photo sharing, right?
Right.
But then Vine pops up and they start sharing videos. So they're like, we should start sharing videos, and they started doing stories.
And then you have YouTube, so IGTV for.
So they started adding multiple ways of posting content onto one platform versus just a photo or just a video, like being very I guess I don't want to say like simple, but very precise in what they do.
Yeah.
So they expanded their product, and so I like that it's all there.
They're flexible for sure.
Yeah.
They
I love
enhance
Instagram.
their capabilities.
Yeah.
It's for sure my most minutes on my phone.
Screen time calls you out on your Instagram.
I will not share my screen time of Instagram.
Okay, so we got Vine at 5, Instagram at 1 for both of you. You got to mix it up at some point. So let's see.
I've been answering first.
Let Danny answer first. You ready for this one?
Yeah.
MySpace.
Oof.
The music share. Now, nobody else has done this still.
100%.
Well, I mean, there's like SoundCloud and stuff, but I mean, like,
is it still a thing?
No, I tried signing on actually not that long ago, like a month ago, and I couldn't. Or at least my profile. But MySpace, I'm gonna put at 3.
Okay.
Because I really enjoy it, and you're thinking 3 too.
Yeah.
I used to love making my profile and like putting music behind it, and people will pull up to my profile like, that song is so
Were
dope.
you a musician, and did you ever have music of your own on your MySpace?
No. I mean, I played guitar, but I was not I didn't record my own music. I mean, if you may be you may know this reference, but Dashboard Confessional. That was my. Do you know what that is?
No.
Live. Man, that was my MySpace background music all the time.
My roommate in college was a Dashboard junkie, and he was such a romantic and played the guitar.
Oh yeah,
that was just like always in his.
That's why I learned guitar because of Dashboard.
Wow.
But I will say that MySpace, out of probably all the social media apps, is the one that creates the most enemies.
Yes, I was gonna say
because you had to have the top 8, right?
Right.
Yes, because of the top 8, that stirred a lot of drama.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're putting it at 4?
Yes.
Okay, so 3 and 4, we finally got to mix up. All right, let's go to our the second to the last one.
Yeah.
Be Real.
Oh, you wish you put
MySpace
at 3.
And it has to go through.
Now you got to put it above MySpace.
Be Real could have went under Vine.
No.
I was thinking.
I think it's
when
so
you guys put it at
lame.
5, I was like, do you know what's coming next? Because
I don't mind I think I like B-Real over Vine, mainly because I'm not good at videography. And so I feel like you have to be so creative to do Vines, to do like Reels and stuff.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
I mean, anybody can really pull up their phone and take a
So
nice
like you want
picture.
less effort, which that's why I don't like Be Real.
Right. And so
Because you want to put time in it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true. I mean, for
throwing
me, I'm
content
like,
out
I can
there.
take a picture and post it. And so that's why I liked Instagram.
So are you active on Be Real?
I haven't been.
Okay.
I need to get back at it. My B-Real friends miss me. I'm just kidding.
Nah.
And in case you don't know what B-Real is, B-Real, which kind of stemmed from like a little bit of like other apps too, but they send you a notification at a random point of the day. Like it's never the same time. Like it can be at 7 a.m. It can be at 11 p.m.
Like if I just got mine right now.
Right. Then
What happens?
The idea of what you do is you have, I think, 2 minutes to post a picture of your like what's happening in that moment. It takes a selfie and it takes a picture of what you're also viewing.
But the thing is, you can delay it.
Sure. Right.
So I would
have to
want
do
it
it
to
right
happen.
there
If
and
I was
then.
on Be Real, this would be a cool time for it to ding me.
Right.
Because then I'd take a picture of you guys and I'd be
but what if
interviewing
you're doing
you.
something lame? Then you're like,
You're being
delay.
real. It doesn't matter. Like that's the whole point.
What if you're in the shower?
And that.
My showers last more than 2 minutes, bro.
Hey, I mean, I don't know if it's for this podcast, and homeboy can edit it later. But
Not a fan. Not a fan.
I've seen
We're all
B-Reels of
adults
people
here.
like they're in the bathroom and stuff, and like
Wow.
it's like their feet, but it's like you can tell. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, I wish you were late.
That's the bathroom
I
tile.
wish you
I've been to
were
your
like-
house, bro. That's the bathroom tile.
But you're notified, or people know that you're late on their posts, right? And they also know when you take multiple attempts. Like it took you 5 attempts on this Be Real. So then you're like, oh, you're being fake. And that's kind of what like threw me off the app a little bit. It's like, hey, everybody be in my Be Real. It's like, oh, you're fabricating it now. So I got thrown off a little bit by that, but I do like it. Like it's cool. So
We have 2 and 4 left.
I don't know what the next one is. Hold up. I'm gonna put it at 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to put it
You
at
have
3.
you have either 3 or 2.
Put it at
Put
2.
it at 3. No.
Because you don't want to put it at 2.
I like
okay.
it.
There's no way for it to evolve. That's how I feel about Be Real.
It might
It's
be
done.
okay.
It's right
And-
there.
Yeah, it probably won't go on.
Last but not least, certainly not the granddaddy of them all because MySpace I think would get that.
Yeah.
But the behemoth of them all,
Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah, I'm fine with
I
that.
saved
too.
this one for last. Just
Wait,
to-
I said B-Real is 4, right?
Yeah, you
Okay,
did.
yeah. I'm
So
good
2.
with Facebook at 2.
So it's funny. Instagram, Facebook 1 and 2, and
They're both the same.
They're
You
both
didn't say
same.
LinkedIn.
I did not. But see that well,
That
okay.
would have been my one.
when we learn about you, we'll learn why that's important
I
to you.
thought
And
you
I'm
were
not.
gonna say
I'm barely on it.
YouTube, which a lot of people don't see
thought about
YouTube
it.
as social media. It's more
thought
like
about it.
video-based content, but it is a social media outlet.
I had some other ones on here. So wait, you
yeah.
said it's all locked in, right? For you, it's 2. For both of you, it's 2.
Yeah, it has to be 2.
Yeah.
So one of the other ones I was gonna throw out there was YouTube. Another one I thought about was X.
Oh,
You use it. I don't.
I use it all the time, man.
Yeah.
I don't post on it, but I'm on it all the
Have
time.
you noticed how anytime now on the news or anytime somebody talks about X, they say X, formerly Twitter?
I know.
Like, how long are you guys gonna say
I
that?
know,
It's either just make the
run it.
switch or
Yeah.
not.
I say Twitter, now called X.
When you said X, I was like, what is that?
Yeah,
I
well-
forgot. Yeah.
Yesterday, I was doing something and I said I wanted to retweet that person's like comment, but then I thought,
Re-X.
What do you call
what is it? Re-X now?
Re-X.
They got to keep the same tweeting term.
I actually don't know, but I do look up a lot of content on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Facebook. It's really annoying, but so many
Got the
people are
most
on there.
people on there.
Yeah.
most people.
There's
are on there.
so other honorable mentions like WhatsApp is actually they consider themselves
My
a
least
social
favorite
media.
social media.
WhatsApp,
Well, YouTube's technically not social media,
right?
Yeah.
kind of.
They don't.
They're
They,
a search engine.
They're the largest search engine in the
Yeah.
world, right? That's what they say.
Second.
Wow.
What?
Second.
Oh,
largest.
to Google. Okay.
To
And then
Ask Me
Snapchat. I
Jeeves.
thought about putting Snapchat on there too, but
So I'm
honorable
very
mention.
active on Snapchat.
Oh, yes.
I have streaks with people like 1,000+ days.
Yeah, I have
or
lost streaks with people.
Oh, yeah,
I've
all the
lost a
time,
streak
too.
with you. My fault for like over 3 or 4
Multiple
days.
times.
And I feel like
Liv.
Snapchat has been the one, not to keep talking about all this, but has been the one that I stay connected with, like people that I don't live with,
Yep.
in the same area. Like I was a youth pastor at one point, and I have a lot of streaks with my old students who live in
That's
Dallas or Abilene, whatever. And that's how we stay connected. We literally have a Snap streak, and it's really fun.
That's a good way to transition actually into our topic for the day, which is digital ministry, online ministry. So how do we leverage the tools that we have, whether all these social media sites that we've talked about, the platform you're listening to this to on right now or watching it, so podcasts, video ministry, audio. How do we leverage the digital space
Yeah.
for ministry in churches. So you just mentioned Dallas and you mentioned former students. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Danny. Where'd you come from, and what have you done in the past? What makes you passionate about digital ministry?
So my name's Danny. Been in ministry for 12, 13 years, something like that. It's been all I've done as a career. Has been on staff at churches, from student ministry, church planning, online ministry, young adult ministry, kind of a lot of different stuff. It's been a lot of fun. With the idea of ministry, especially in the student ministry world, that culture is they live on social media, right? And so as a youth pastor, you kind of like, it's really hard to not be in that world. Like if you're going to go reach people, like the way that God best related to us was through Jesus Christ, the incarnation. God came into our world to relate to us. So how do you enter into people's spaces, right? And we understand that physically. And I think one of the hard things is to understand that digitally. But I
remember the first time I ever saw you as a youth minister leverage social media for your ministry. Because when I was a youth minister a few years earlier, social media was not a thing. Right. Like iPhones were just coming out. But I remember when I had moved to New York. We were planning a church here, and me and you have become friends. And I remember you posting a story. I think it was when stories had just come out, but maybe it was just a video on either Facebook or Instagram. And you were like on a GoPro. And I think you had it in your hand, and you were at BT, the church that you serve at, and you were like backing up. Hey, summer is about to be here, students.
That was a great video.
Like let's get ready for a big summer bash. Just like I don't know, and then we're gonna be doing this, and this. Don't miss it. And then you just take off sprinting across a field, and you just jumped into a pool. Yeah, with the camera and everything. Yeah, and I was like, oh, that
is this
like
still live?
I could probably find that video.
Yeah, but anyway, I was like, oh, he's using social media.
Yeah.
To like get to the students,
right? 100%,
which is a cool. I mean, at that point, it was a brand new thought.
And another thing too is like with the reality of especially teenagers and students is you're kind of seeing the content that they're seeing, and then you're able to best understand like how to utilize some of that. And part of the I guess theologically how I would argue the need for online for digital ministry is you look at Paul, right? Paul was one of the best. Or the best person to contextualize the gospel. Like, how do you make the message of the gospel relatable to the people in front of you? And in Acts 17, Paul is on one of his missionary journeys, and he's in the city of Athens. And before even talking to people, he's just observing the town, right? He's walking around, he's looking, he's observing. And then when he sees that the city is full of idols, he then uses that language of what they know to then share the gospel, right? And so he's practicing gospel contextualization. And I just really feel like he was really good at utilizing culture to share the gospel.
Yeah.
And we do the same thing now with social media is how can we, I think one of the biggest temptations or maybe not that, but a struggle that people have is I don't like social media, so I'm just not going to learn it, and I don't care for it, which is fine. Like if you have that conviction, there's nothing wrong.
We were talking to somebody today at the coffee shop.
Right,
said
correct,
the same thing to you, a pastor.
And so with that, it's like, well, you as a leader of your church may not need to be the ones to pioneer this, but your church as a whole should.
That's good.
Find somebody in there who does have a passion for this, because one, you then relate to maybe a younger crowd. But also you can then utilize the content that you're believing in, that you're preaching every Sunday, to reach a whole different world of people. And so utilizing, those aspects and platforms to the best contextualize for the gospel.
That's great.
That's why I think it's important.
And as a teaser to stay for the rest of this podcast, we at Queens Connexus have a special gift available to you.
Yeah.
That I'll share with you at the end of the podcast, and it'll be here in the show notes as well. Something that can help you do what Danny just talked about. So That's Danny. Lives in Texas. He didn't say this, but he helped plant a church here in Queens.
Yes.
Back in 2020, he and his wife moved here, and they've relocated back, but still huge advocates for church planting here in Queens. And is here, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4 times a year.
Yeah,
as well.
It really is.
So Liv,
move back.
Tell us about yourself. Same thing. Why are you passionate about digital ministry, and what do you do? Are you vocational ministry like Danny, or you do something else?
Yeah. So hi, I'm Olivia Ty. I was born and raised in New York. I was saved about 4 years ago now. So I spent about 20 plus years not being part of a church, much less understanding the concept of serving. But I think it was in 2020, I get a random text from my pastor, which was you. And you were like, hey, would you like to run our social media page.
Because Danny had moved, and I asked Danny, like,
wasn't that random?
Danny
was
running social media for Queen's Church, and he moved, and he was like, I'll run it as long as you need.
Yeah.
And because we know I didn't need to get my hands on it. And so I said, who do you think? And he was like, I think Liv. That's why I texted you, which I know you knew that, but for our audience.
Yeah. So you texted me that, and I, again, didn't understand what it meant to, like, means to serve. But I met with you the next day. You set some guidelines, and you're like, just go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you were like, I just need you to post.
Yeah.
So kind of went from there, kind of got into that space, started following a bunch of churches on social media. And what I've noticed was a lot of churches usually do the same thing, which is invite people to their church on Sundays, which kind of felt weird to me because I was kind of in the space and I kind of knew how powerful social media could be. And being a new believer myself, I felt like there was a better usage of these platforms. So I'm very passionate about it because I think that instead of getting people to come to our church and playing middleman as social media, I think social media should be a ministry in of itself.
All right.
And that's something that I've expressed to my pastor, we've kind of ran with this vision. And now here we are.
I love that.
3-4 years later.
So cool.
So now I have a bunch of creatives at Queen's Church, and that's what I do. But I do have a full-time job.
Yeah, I know. I'm interested in, I want to get into all that for sure. But what do you do? You said you're just serving the church. So this is a volunteer thing for you.
So I technically am the creative lead at Queen's Church, but as a volunteer. So I do have a 9-to-5 job. I work at SiriusXM, and I work in the advertising and tech space.
So that's what you mean by you're kind of in this space, and you're like, I know the power of social media because I'm using it in advertising.
We're not using it correctly, or at least I don't think we are, because I don't know how churches run. But
so let's use that as a jumping off point to talk about our topic today, which is leveraging digital media, the digital space for ministry. You're in the space, you do advertising in the secular world, and you are seeing that churches are only asking people to come here, right? Mm-hmm. That's what you're saying. What are some of the tools that you've used or that you've been able to cross over from advertise? Because advertisements are not just come and see either. Yeah. You know, advertisers know, like, we got to tell a story, like we got to have a brand image. What are some of the things that you've taken just straight up from the secular space and you're like, we can be doing this in the church space to tell our story?
So I think I think how these platforms have positioned their capabilities nowadays is for advertisements, unfortunately.
Like and paid advertisements, you mean, right? Yeah.
So you have a lot of brands talking to consumers. Like, that's usually how it works. What we've done at churches is that we've taken that from the secular world and almost copied it, which is not what we are called to do. We're not supposed to conform to this world.
That's good.
But what I'm seeing is there's so much authenticity from these creators, and instead we're treating ourselves as a brand almost. Like the church is the brand, which feels weird when our entire mission is to point people to Jesus.
All right.
So why are we not doing that? Why are we not discipling right on these platforms? Why are we not sharing the gospel on these platforms? So I get that it is very useful to advertise outward to bring people in, but I also see it so powerful that you can literally reach the masses right on the platforms and share the gospel right there. Yeah,
I love it. So it seems to me like you're suggesting churches should focus on removing the middleman, the middleman being social media. So if I'm going to point people to something, don't point them to the church. Point them to Jesus.
Always.
Right? Yeah. And obviously, so how do you deal with, and then I want to hear your thoughts on this too, Danny, because I know, so Liv comes from a smaller church. Queen's Church is, around 100, 150 people or so. But Danny's at a church of over 2,000 or maybe even close to 3,000.
Yeah.
So I want to hear both of your thoughts on this. How do you, as someone who's in the social media space at a church, deal with different people making requests of the social media pages? In other words, if I'm the women's director or I'm the kids director, I want my things advertised on the space, when what you're saying is our heart is not advertising.
Right.
So how do you deal with those requests? Because I know there's people listening to this who are like, everybody's begging me to advertise on my space, but Liv's telling me that that's not the best use of the space. So how do you deal with them?
I personally think you need buy-in from leadership.
Yeah.
So once I've shared my vision with you, where I did not want this to be an advertising platform. It's not supposed to be a broadcast platform. I feel like once I had leadership buy-in, I had defense.
Gotcha.
So I think that's really the big thing.
I take bullets for you.
Yeah, I know you do, and I really appreciate it.
So pastors, be willing to take bullets.
Oh,
if you equip people in your church to do this, and they buy in.
And as a pastor, you should do that for any leader of any ministry leader in your church, right? Like you back up your student pastor whenever they do something crazy, and you're like, I still love that person.
Yeah, when they jump into the pool with the church's GoPro, and then it ruins it.
Yeah, big GoPros.
They're made for water. Yeah.
Was it?
Well, I think it had the
case on it.
case.
It had to. Yeah, that was like
I remember that now.
12 years ago.
And so I have a lot of thoughts on this one.
Go for it.
And some of these things like we've tried to implement, and we're not fully there yet, right?
Let me pause before you answer, because some of your thoughts may do this. Queen's Church has one social media page, period.
Right.
BT has many though, so
Yes.
I'm sure you're probably going to get into that. So like, just
many.
be aware,
If you're
because you
BT
have like
listeners.
BT Creative, you have BT Worship, you have BT Church, you have BT Youth, you have BT Young Adults.
Campuses.
So many of our ministries have a
campuses.
page.
Yeah.
We also have 5 campuses, and every campus has a page also.
Okay.
So it's a lot of requests, right? So one of the big things we try to get people to understand is one, like understand the channel. Like who is this for? Who's your audience? So before a ministry or a campus wants to be on a social media platform, they want to be on Snapchat, they want to be on X or Twitter, they want to be on Instagram. One, I help them identify who their audience is. Like, is the audience that you're trying to go after, because their whole thing is promotion, right? So is the audience that you're trying to go after even on there? Like we're making people follow yet another page just to try to get some more information. So we're trying to get people to understand that. And like I'll say this is more like supporting advertising of broadcasting. But like in our church, one of the stigmas is that people assume that just because an announcement is made from the stage, that's the best way to get information out.
We fight this at our church
Right. And
every
so
week
like,
in staff meeting.
Like it's got to be announced on the stage. Well, it's like, well, not really. Like one, like you have like 2 to 3 minutes in the service time to host, right? And you're hoping that everybody is going to be listening to you. That's probably not true.
Right.
And so that's not actually the best time to capture people. And you're also hoping that everybody who's connected to our church is there that Sunday. Also not true. I think the average church goer goes 1 out of every 6 weeks now, and they call themselves committed, right? And so that's a reality as well. And so you're not really capturing everybody. So let's utilize a different channel to then promote what you're trying to do. We can give an announcement, but it has to be very brief, right? So what we're trying to do is coach people up on channels. Like if we're promoting an event, let's push our events website page, like bt.church/events. Let's train people that that's the best place to get any sort of information rather than on Facebook, on social media, on Instagram. And that kind of helps alleviate the mass amount of promotion for this thing. It doesn't work all the time, but that's what we're trying to get is website is for this type of content. Social media is for this type of content. We're going to utilize both, right? There's going to be moments where we're posting and sharing about an event because people are on there, they live there. But then even within a platform, like we talked about Instagram is kind of like a one-stop shop almost. There's different ways to promote. We can post a picture, but then like, not to get too deep into this, but Instagram has different algorithms of what they like and what they want to share. They don't want to share graphics. And so if you create a graphic for this men's breakfast, right, it's probably not going to get shared to everybody who follows you, right? And so what you learn is more people look at Instagram stories than might look at your feed. You can just look at metrics. And so I try telling people like, hey, I'm going to post this on the story. What you need to know is it's going to go away in 24 hours. We can post it again, whatever. But it's going to get more views and traction than the feed. Right. But they want to see the feed, right? And so that's the different battle you face. But it's just getting really to understand the purpose of what the digital platform is, of what Instagram does, what Facebook does, and those sort of things. And so and it's going to be this ongoing conversation, and hopefully you just have healthy conversations with your team and say, hey, this is what we think this channel is best used for, and what we want to go after. And so
So understand the audience and understand the platform.
Yeah.
Those are 2 really good places to start before I start to ask myself, what am I going to post?
Yeah. And we have like different guidelines. Like if there's a ministry that wants to, like, we don't tell no to people like, hey, I want to start an Instagram page. Like our initial response is not no. It's more like why, like help us understand the vision of what you want to do. And then we will often do like a trial run. Like, all right, cool. Let's run an Instagram for 90 days. Your goal is not to get as many followers as possible. Your goal is to be consistent in what you're trying to do. And as they practice consistency, we see that it's going to be healthy. Because the other thing that's happened is we have ministries that started a page a long time ago. They stopped posting. Staff member is no longer on staff. We don't have access to this page.
The login info is gone.
And we have no
them.
login stuff. And it's like, well, why is BT not active on this page? It's like, I mean, no one's posted in 3 years, but we don't have the login information. And so we're trying to alleviate some of that stuff. And I think doing this helps us kind of go that direction of identify who's going to be running this page, identify the purpose. Let's give it a trial run. And then we kind of, see what happens from there.
Okay. So I like the concept of who's running this page and how often are they posting. So let's talk about that a little bit. If a page goes dormant is what you're describing, then it's almost as if the church just has an empty parking lot and the lights are off.
100%.
Right?
Yes.
So people are thinking, oh, the page is dormant, the church is dormant.
Nothing's happening here.
We have to remember that that's what that means to people when they see it in the digital space. So in order to avoid that, let's say I'm a pastor or ministry leader watching this podcast. What do you recommend as far as a posting schedule for a church? Like if I'm a pastor and I'm asking a volunteer to do this, I understand it's going to take a lot of their time. Not everyone is going to be able to give as much time as Liv gives. Like Liv gives a full, like a solid part-time job amount of time as a volunteer. That's not common.
Yeah. How much would
full-time job?
How much would you
you do 40 hours? I've never even asked
how
you.
many hours a week would you give to social media, you think?
To social media?
Or to like
for Queen's Church social media?
I feel like it's a consistent thing.
So it's like ongoing.
Yeah.
Add up all the hours.
I can't.
Yeah. She's thinking about it constantly.
So much of like social media is also has to do with research.
Right.
So me being on social media, I'm usually thinking about.
Okay, so we're gonna put a pin in digital health, and we'll come back to that in a second. Okay.
So much to talk about here.
I know. So, but first, answer digital health is the pin. The original question is, let's just say I'm starting out.
Cadence.
What is it? Content?
I'm starting out, or my page has already gone dormant, or we're posting like nonstop. I just want to know, what do you think is a good posting cadence rhythm schedule for a church?
Yeah.
Let's just say it's a church has one page for now.
Yeah. I would say at least once a day.
Yeah.
Minimum once a day.
And does that have to be a post? So let's break it down for people who don't know. There's on Instagram, since we're kind of focusing on Instagram, there's reels, which are videos.
Right.
There's posts, which are photos or videos, but
feed.
it's a post, right, on the feed.
And a reel is also
a post.
now a post.
Okay, right. And then there's stories, which last 24 hours and are gone, but can be saved as highlights.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you say once a day, does that mean I have to post one of those each a day? One of the 3 a day? What?
I would say at least I would do one post a day, which a post can be a reel or a picture or a something like some sort of graphic or whatever, just to create consistency. Like one of my things, especially when people are kind of starting this off, is consistency is better than not posting. Like I think one of the statements I've said to like even Liv is like being basic is not bad. Because one of the
that's good.
I disagree.
I know. Well, one of the hard things is like and I've seen this when we're training people to run ministry pages.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is they put so much pressure on themselves to create like the most perfect graphic,
Yeah.
and they're spending hours at a coffee shop, like 6 hours trying to make this thing. I'm like, just post it. It's gonna be great. Someone might like it. A lot of people probably won't like it. It's gonna be fun. And so all right, let me back up a little bit. 2 rules that I have for social media is 1, show people Jesus, which Liv said.
Okay.
Show people who you are. So how do you do that? Just photography. So one of the best things you can do is have a photographer of your services, because when we can get into this, but social media is literally like the front door of your ministry.
Right.
So you're showing people who you are, what you look like, what to expect when they walk in your doors, and all that stuff. And so at minimum, like if you can grab some pictures of service or whatever, just post those pictures. You're keeping it consistent. And once I got one of our social media managers to kind of like understand that, then boom, like consistency, more people start seeing your stuff, more people get excited, they start sharing it because they see themselves in the social media posts.
Yeah.
So then their friends start following you, and all of a sudden you start seeing growth, right? And so like it doesn't have to be this perfect post. It can literally just be a picture of your service. And at minimum, just like post that.
Okay. I want to just try to connect a couple thoughts. If you're going to post pictures of the service, we're not going to, that's not an announcement, we're passing Liv's checklist so far. It's not an announcement. Check. That's a good thing. It's a picture of the service. Your checklist, we're showing them who we really are. It's not stock photography. It's a real photo of our service.
Right.
Okay. Check mark. how do we point them to Jesus? Like the other thing Liv was saying was we don't want that to just be announcements. We want to point them to Jesus. How can I take a picture from Sunday service or 5 of them in a carousel, which is multiple pictures in one post?
Another Instagram feature.
Yep. How can I make that point people to Jesus instead of just showing them my wife's face, as she's worshiping or whatever? Go.
That's funny. Well, the simplest thing that you can do is take the sermons from Sundays and revamp it into these posts.
Wow.
So take any points that you have, take any of the notes. And I really do think that you should get this from your pastor as well. Get the sermon notes.
Should your pastor upload the sermon notes into a drive folder for you?
I always ask, but it's fine. So the hope is that you are taking notes during service and you just revamp it. And
otherwise,
put it in your caption, put it in.
If you don't take the notes from your pastor, one, that's just low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, then again you feel the pressure of creating new content.
Yeah, that's the thing. So
then
Brady
you're
Shearer
stuck in a coffee shop for another 6 hours. Of what to write.
Trying to think of what to say.
Right.
So Brady Shearer,
your pastor already did it.
We'll put this in the show notes probably, but like he's a great resource to go look at about digital ministry. And I learned that from him. He's like, your pastor already created the content. Yeah. Don't recreate the content.
No.
Your pastor spends hours on it. Might as well just take what they did
rather than create content, repurpose content.
So let me just read one. Okay,
that was the word.
Let's make this super practical. Here's Queen's Church Post from October 12th, a couple weeks ago, or if you listen to this in 6 years, then years and years ago.
2023.
Yeah. The image is inside the church, 2 people talking pre or post service. Oh. All right, that's the image. The words across the image are God created you. And then you slide, and it says, it's a picture of a mom with their 2 kids during worship, and it says, God loves you. And then you slide a couple pictures, and then it's a woman smiling right after church, and it says, God forgives you.
Come on.
So Liv, I guess Liv did this, maybe, or someone else on our team. God created you, God loved you, God loves you, and God forgives you. And then in the caption, it says, focus on these truths. Quote, feelings follow focus. What are you focused on? End quote.
So here's what I love about that, because I'm assuming you took that from his sermon, right? Not to say you couldn't think of that, like you can easily think of that. You're a great theologian.
Well, she did the quotes. I think that's the quotes is from the sermon, but then like everything else, you did have to create that content. Right. Focus on these truths. God created you. God loves you.
This is a simple social media practice: is give people less to read, right? Like people you're quick on social media, right? Like I think John Mark Comer says like the people have like the attention span of like 7 seconds now.
Yeah, I don't think John Mark Comer would like this conversation at all.
Seconds, right? He's not big on social media. He follows like 2 people, but he makes the argument that we're losing our attention span to goldfish, right? It's like I think goldfish is 9 seconds and we're like 7 seconds.
6. Yeah.
And I remember this too. That one time I was on TikTok and I was hanging out with you and Lindsay or something, and on TikTok I'm doing this with my thumb, right? And I noticed that she was like watching me. And she
Lindsay?
was like, how do you know when to stop?
Yeah.
And I was
she hates TikTok.
I was like, I don't really know, but they have a split second to grab my attention, right? And so
But you're not even afraid you miss anything because you trust your instincts so much.
I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
But and all I have to say is this is we have a moment to capture somebody's attention, right?
Yeah.
So the less you can say, the better.
Okay.
So rather than Liv saying in that post like, hey guys, here's our 4 sermon points from this past weekend sermon that Pastor Larry taught. No.
Good
Repurpose
advice.
it almost as its own content, right? Like you learned this from Sunday. It's still 4 truths or 3 truths that you got out of it. And so
it lives forever.
And it lives there.
People
forever.
are going to scroll our page in a year trying to see, what kind of church is this? And they'll see these things.
Right. And so as a pastor, if you don't have anybody to run your social media, but you want to be active on this, then take the content that you already have created. And so here's something I did, like when I kind of caught on to this a couple of years ago, is I have all my sermons on Google Docs, right? And, there's hundreds of sermons that I preach. I went back and, I do, as a preacher, I do full manuscript. That's just my practice. So 7 pages, 8 pages of content every single time I preach. I went back and just like, I found quotable moments that I just stored into another Google Doc, sermon quotes or sermon points, things like that. And I just spent a couple of hours of repurposing some of that content into what I think can then be posted on social media. And what that did is that gave me content for a long time.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to rethink what can I post today on social media, I just went to that doc and then just started pulling old content.
You probably have more content than you can use in your whole lifetime. You know,
it's great. And then here's the other thing you can do, because some people will connect to a text picture, a picture with text on it. Some people connect to a video. Take the exact same content. Right. What did that say? God loves you.
God created you. God loves you. God forgives you.
So then in a video, post a selfie. Hey guys, I want to give you the 3 reminders today. God loves you. God created you. God forgives you.
Follow these truths.
Same content.
You did that this week?
No.
Oh,
We'll do it this week.
It's like not even different.
Okay,
but
wait.
no one's gonna notice that.
Okay, that great idea. Why'd you say we'll do that this week? I mean,
I
I know how your mind works, but why'd you say that?
Well, because we already have the regular posts. He just told me to turn it into a video.
And so, but I want to know, like, in your head, I think sometimes people get so hung up on this because they get caught in indecision.
Okay.
Yes.
So why are you just saying, oh, that's a good idea, I'm gonna do that this week?
It takes 2 seconds.
Yeah, but what's working in your mind to go to say I'm willing to do this? I don't know. I mean, you. If I say not every idea I give you, you say let's do that this week. I have no personal qualms about it. I'm just saying. Like, so what about what he said makes you so clearly?
Let's do that. Yeah.
Like, that's an opportunity. I'm going to take it.
Because it's Danny and it's
okay. Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not that special.
He said stuff before you didn't want to use.
I'm
like sure.
What? I don't know.
Oh, your notes things. The screenshot of your notes.
Oh, I love doing that.
Oh, she hates it that I do that for my challenges.
It's
I
great.
know she does.
I love that.
You know, people love it too. I have a lot of non-Christian people that are on Facebook specifically.
Yeah.
They'll comment on there. Oh, I posted it like on the 4th, October 4th this month. And they were like, I was wondering if we were going to get one this month.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
That's great.
But to me, I mean, I know that
There's
Liv.
no like consistency.
I know that
on our
Liv
page.
doesn't like the way that it looks. I assume that she doesn't because she's never said anything to me about it. And I don't love it either, but I'm doing what you said, basic. Like, it's easy. I wrote it in the note.
And what we're talking about is if you utilize notes on your phone, then all you do is screenshot it.
Right.
And then post it.
Correct. Yeah.
That's
what I do.
No, you don't need
Too
sort of.
easy.
I know you don't need any sort of. But that's what like apps do now. Like before, you had to take a whole like college course on how to design a graphic, and now you can now literally like
screenshot, crop.
I'm pretty sure maybe you're probably gonna say Android's been doing this for 10 years, but iPhone, like you can hold on to an image of a person. And it and takes out the background.
Yes.
Right. And then now you post that onto a color or whatever, and now
that.
you make a graphic. And so it just makes it so easy now. It doesn't look like, will a graphic designer approve this? Probably not. But that's okay. Like, it's just a simple social media post to grab someone's attention.
So you guys are saying there's like a lower bar. Well, actually, you're saying you can go for a lower bar, and you're saying no. So it's probably somewhere in the middle.
Well, I was thinking about that when you were talking about
also don't
telling your volunteer to
overburden
just
yourself.
post.
Yeah.
I think a lot of volunteers get into their heads, and I see this with our volunteers as well. Where
I see it with you. I feel like I'm telling you that a lot. Just post
all
it
the time. But I feel like I've gotten better, and we have to keep that in mind that for some people who don't have that type of practice that you've had for the last 13 years, for them, they're just like, but is this good enough? And it feels too easy. Is this clean enough?
Right.
As opposed to like, you just have to tell them, just post it.
Get it out of
fine.
here.
Yeah,
and the good enough thing, and I'm not saying this is what you think, but this is what I think too, because I've wrestled with this. Like, it took me a long time to get to a point of like, I'm just gonna do it like this. Like, it's easier. I don't have a whole lot of time. But that kind of for me came to comparison, which is one of the big negative sides of social media.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool to follow a ton of churches and see what they're doing, but when you begin comparing your content to them, and they have probably like, large churches have 10 social media staff members that work full time.
Production team.
Like, that's what literally what they're paid to do. And you don't have that. And so just be very careful of comparing yourself to that sort of content, because then it's really going to bring you down.
Right.
Okay. So then you mentioned, I think that's a good thought for people to have. Be careful about comparison. Liv, earlier you mentioned that one of the practices you have is you follow other church social media accounts. Mm-hmm. In your intro, you said that. So how do I... Liv, talk to volunteers. If I'm a volunteer, how do I follow other church accounts? And number one, not compare.
Yeah.
Because I know that's dangerous for my soul. But number two, not mimic.
Yeah, so we're very big on like not copying other churches, which is why I also like to tell our volunteers follow other pages that are inspiring.
Not just churches.
Not just churches.
Okay,
so
cool.
it can be in the secular space. Again, we're not conforming. We're not trying to copy. We're not trying to mimic, but we want to see what other people are doing, and we want to see what other like people in the creative industry are doing. What was the second part of that question?
What do you tell volunteers then?
Right. You answered the second question first. That's how to not copy or how to not mimic. The first question was, how do I not compare myself to others? Like, I'm seeing these, you told me to follow other churches. I'm following other churches and I'm going, I can never be as good as X church or Y church because their pictures are always better than ours, or their aesthetic is so much more pleasing. And I don't agree with the creative director's aesthetic, and I want to do my own thing. Like, talk to the volunteers who might either think that like other churches are doing it better, and so it makes them want to check out. Because you can probably agree with me. Creatives get like that sometimes.
Yeah.
One thing about being a creative is if it doesn't fit exactly like how I think it should. Yeah. Oftentimes I want to check out.
I feel like this is more of a self-awareness kind of conversation.
Okay, maybe so.
Because it will never be
feel
perfect.
That. Like, I have to be careful about bringing in my preferences all the time to like our church social media. So then I just post it on my own page, right? Because that's my preference. This is what the vibe I'm going after. So like the notes thing, I don't do that all the time for BT social media, but I do it for mine, right? But what we can also do is then collab, which is a whole other thing. But one thing I will say is maybe like a way to be healthy about it without mimicking is if you spend 4 hours a week, you're a volunteer at a church, and that's the time frame you have to give to be able to create content for your church, is in your breakdown of that time, don't look for inspiration at the same time they're creating content. Maybe separate that time. Like,
you mean because then you might just start
exactly.
Oh, that was
so
inspiring.
Maybe like Sunday night you're chilling, you're watching football, you're scrolling through social media. You see inspiration, save those posts, kind of get some
what do you
ideas.
do? How do you get this inspiration? You're saving bookmarks or something?
I'll save. And that's what I do too. Like at one point, and this kind of was my whole like minimalism kick. I was like, why am I following so many pages? Like, I don't even know all these people. And I literally went one day and just started unfollowing a ton. But then I was like, but I don't want to lose this idea. So rather than following the church's page, I went and saved posts. So now I'm looking at my saved, content, and I can go back and look for ideas. So I that's something I've tried to practice is like, all right, if I'm actively scrolling, I see an idea, I'm going to save it, look at it later, or even like think about this idea later, make a note on it, and then create at a different time. That way, like, I'll say this, like these are pastors listening, I'm assuming, right?
Yep.
If you are preaching a sermon, the first thing that you are not going to do is read commentary. Hopefully not.
The
first thing that you're going to do is chat GPT. I'm just joking.
I was going to say log into sermoncentral.com and see if I can download one.
The first thing you're going to do is you're going to dive into God's word yourself. And maybe you're going to journal and you're going to reflect and you're going to do the work required to put together this sermon that you feel God's calling you to deliver. So same thing in social media creating, like put in some of your creativity, some of the things that God's designed you to do already, and then go look at ideas, inspiration, and maybe that can help with a later post or something like that. But so that way the inspiration doesn't drive you, it just kind of assists you.
Social media directors or social media volunteers should steward the screen like the pastor stewards the stage. Is that what you're saying?
Oof.
Wow.
That's why you're a pastor, bro.
X that.
Clip that moment.
But for real, that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
So Liv and Ashley and everyone on her team needs to be. This is my platform to steward.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put the work into it, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously that I can as a volunteer, whatever. Just like as a pastor, my job is to steward that stage, and that also sometimes means protecting it from not letting certain people preach, which a social media coordinator may have to do. They may have to let certain people not post,
100%,
right? Okay, so that's good. If we can think about it like a stewardship thing, that helps me as a pastor.
That's great.
Liv, let's talk about boundaries with leadership.
I have none.
That's not true. Here's what I mean, because I know some pastors are going to be listening to this, and maybe some volunteers are listening to this, and there is conflict sometimes when it comes to it. So let's say we agree on the announcement thing, right? Mm-hmm. But I, as a pastor, have an idea, and I want you to do it my way. How do you and we can talk about our relationship, because I think there's some pretty clear boundaries. I can say what I try to do as a pastor. And one of the things I try to do as a pastor is never, ever, ever tell Liv, I want this done like this. I send her ideas all the time. And I have said multiple times now, I don't have to keep saying it. But I said, just because I send you an idea doesn't mean I want you to do it. I'm just saying I like this, period. Like if you don't, or if I tag Queen's Church in something, I never assume she's going to share it. I'm just giving her the opportunity because I tell her, like, sometimes if you just have some free content for the day, Merry Christmas, free content for the day. If you hate it, don't do it. So, but talk to me about how you perceive that from your leadership and what would make it difficult. What do I do that you like? What do I do that frustrates you? This could be a good, we can grow right now.
Are we counseling?
Could be, yeah.
I can leave.
Because I think that's a big struggle for it once people get into it.
Yeah.
I have heard people say that they don't like what the pastor's posting or like what the pastor's doing. And so then they're going to stop volunteering. But that's not what we want. We want to grow together.
One thing that happens often in churches is we tell worship leaders what songs to play. And one time a worship leader was like, hey, I don't tell you what to preach.
Yo.
So I'll let
put
you
yourself,
answer, but
exactly.
it's understanding like your role in this. Like you brought that person on to be the social media person. Like
The pastor needs to trust you.
Yeah, I definitely do think you trust me and you'll ask me whether or not where this should go. I try very hard not to say no because I understand that just because it's not my idea doesn't mean it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
So a lot of that is like trying to understand where you're coming from, trying to understand like, okay, why does he want it here? Maybe I would ask you. But then the more I think about it, then I'm like, oh, maybe it would be better on your page. And knowing that
Which you have told me before.
And knowing that you won't get offended by me saying that is so helpful. And I think that's also like our relationship. But I think a pastor and someone who's leading this space should have that type of relationship. Like, don't get hurt just because we don't think that it's appropriate for this platform.
Yeah. That's good.
Trust the pro.
I will say too, because another practice we've done is at one point, ministry leader wanted like parents to know like what we're teaching. Like, hey, can you post the graphics for this? To me, graphics are better for like a slider as people walking in and on TVs, on the screen, whatever. Not great for social media.
What do you mean by graphic? Help me understand.
Like a sermon series graphic, right?
Gotcha.
So they were doing like
This is not a photo.
Yeah, not a photo. It's just like a literal graphic. Like that, for whatever reason, that's not being shared on Instagram as far as like what the content creators
understanding the algorithm.
Right, exactly.
Like you said at the very beginning.
And so I was like, I mean, we can post it. Like it's going to get, 10 likes. And so, and that's exactly what happened. But I was like, if we want parents to know what their kids are learning, let's send them an email. Like that's the platform, that's the channel. Like, but it was like very like, no, we want to post it. Like, all right, cool, whatever. I'm there to serve too. Like I'm not there to just, dictate. So what I did is like, hey, I'm going to post it, but I'm also going to archive it like in a week. And they were cool with that. Like they wanted it just as a simple announcement.
I've seen Liv do this. She removes it from the photo grid anyway. I don't know about archiving, but
and the reason on Instagram you archive is because is when someone comes to your profile, then they see your feed, like your content that you've done and posted.
And by someone, you're meaning someone new, not someone from the church.
Right, yeah.
Like we're looking for people looking for a church.
100%. And just as you would want, like you want your lobby to look as best as possible when people walk in because you want them to come back and you want them to have a great experience. Like your feed on Instagram is your lobby. Like this is what they're seeing, experiencing, encountering. That's why you show them Jesus and show them who you are. Right? Okay. And so if you want them to have like, and I think aesthetics on your feed, I probably prioritize a little bit too much, but I think that's important, right? And so I don't want people to just see a bunch of graphics when they approach our page. So what I do is like, all right, I'll post it. I'm going to archive it soon. And they're cool with that.
And they're never
going
to notice it.
They're never going to notice it.
You tell them as out of courtesy, but they wouldn't have even noticed probably, right?
No. Yeah. And they're cool with that. But
I do want to, we're going to close this up with this is the second to last question. So the second to last question is completely away from content, but also on social media. And I know we talked about this is going to be digital, but we got into this conversation. We're going to have to do another one where we talk about all the other avenues for digital because we didn't even get into like online church and streaming versus recording and all that. So we're going to have to provide another resource.
That is on your gift that you're getting.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. That surprise that's coming. So, but to lean a little bit farther away from specifically the content, but also a huge use for social media. Tell me a little bit about what the link in the bio can do.
Oh, cool.
Because I feel like this is something that churches do not use very well, but I think Queen's Church has used it well. And I don't know how BT Church uses it, but when I see churches use it, I'm like, you nailed it. Good job. So what is link in bio? How does Queen Church use it? How does BT try to use it?
Yeah. Well, now with link in bio, you can actually put multiple links. It's not just one. I think it's two.
No,
Maybe.
I thought it was.
It could be more. I don't remember.
Multiple.
Anyway, it's so you're, and I feel like we are zoning in on Instagram. There's obviously other aspects, but with link in bio, like you have your bio on your Instagram page. People can read about who you are, when you meet, whatever. It's a very short driven thing. So be short, be precise. Help people take a very fast.
This is where following other churches can help, right?
Yeah.
Just go read a bunch of theirs and be like,
just,
which ones caught my attention?
Right. Like you don't want to put a whole paragraph on there. They're not going to read it. Like summarize your mission statement into like, 4 words. And it's totally cool because on the link in bio, then you put your website. So if you want people to read more about who you are, throw your website on there, and that can take them to your About Me page or whatever the case would be. But there are really cool resources. One that's very known and widely used is called Linktree. Mm-hmm. So Linktree.
I'm here on Queen's Churches. That's what's there.
Yeah, it's allows you to just put as many links as you want really to stuff that's going on. So if you're like, hey, especially if you're a church that's doing a lot of stuff, like you have something for kids, something for youth, something for adults, something for men and women, a lot of different events that you're wanting them to register for. Linktree is a great spot to just post all of that, right? And so that way you just push people to that. That's a whole kind of going back to our earlier conversation of what the content needs to be and where you push them towards. Like, go to our link in bio. More information is there. It allows you to not put so much information on your caption, knowing that people may not read all that. More information on the link in bio. They go on there. And I love this aspect too. I don't say this to people, but what it does is when you point them there, then they see other things going on at the church too. Like I came to the link in bio because I saw that women are having a breakfast prayer meeting. But I also saw that there's something that is happening for kids and there's something that's happening on Sundays. And now they're exploring your page to other things going on. So I like putting as much information as possible there because it exposes them to more stuff. So
Linktree is one link that goes to a page which has multiple links.
Correct. And it's a free thing. You can pay for it to do like more personalized stuff, but it's free.
Are we using the free version, Liv?
I don't know. You guys created it.
It's free.
I just updated it.
So, I mean, what Queen's Church has here, we have our logo. It's white, which is
pretty
white and black.
personalizable.
Goes to our branding.
Yeah, I think now you can do like even like little videos on there, like they're adding stuff. Instagram will probably buy them soon.
I'll just read our audience. So you click link in bio at Queen's Church. It's a link tree, has our logo, and the links are in this order: sermons, Sunday sermons on Sundays, sermon on YouTube.
Give people content right off the bat. There you go.
Shop merch, QC Church Center app. That's how we give. That's how we find out about events, all that stuff. Small groups. Go all in, which is a connect card type of form. Follow us on TikTok, giving us the more. I wish we could have gotten into TikTok a little bit today. I'll just say this about TikTok. Liv posts TikToks, or somebody at our church does. I don't even know. And we get at least a person or two a month. How'd you hear about Queen's Church? Found you on TikTok.
Oh, cool.
That's so
at least a person or two a month. Now, we get lots of people from Instagram.
Sure, yeah.
And we get quite a few from Google. But we get people from TikTok, and it is...
Love it.
Yeah, the content on there is silly. Like, it's like the cat memes and stuff. That's what they're posting. Queen's Church is TikTok.
We're not posting cat memes.
There is definitely a cat meme on our TikTok right now.
I don't think I posted that.
Unless you removed it. It's hilarious.
Love
it. TikTok is totally different. You're not going for any of that polished stuff, right? TikTok's about like engaging with the trends, go trends,
and
go
that's
funny,
what helps
be
pastors
silly.
Too, is like you don't have to create this polished, fully produced
doesn't have to be so
video.
serious, right?
Nah, man, just take a selfie of you in your car.
Yeah.
What?
A selfie video.
Selfie video.
Yeah.
Not a picture, yeah. Sorry.
Anyway, and then finally at the very bottom is our website. That's where our link tree is.
I will say, even something like that is part of a social media manager's job. So we have to keep in mind that they have so many jobs where that has to be updated. That's not updated,
right?
Off the top of my
head. The link
head.
tree is not. Okay.
Right.
So just to be clear, there is a cat meme on our. I clicked the link. There's definitely a cat meme on our TikTok.
Nice.
Oh, rib news.
Look, here it is for our listeners.
I'm allergic to cats.
You found out Queen's Church. You found out Queen's Church started a new series, and they're giving out journaling Bibles, and it's the cat like driving to church. So they're just being silly. But
use some of the
people
trends,
are finding
man.
our church on that. Okay, so
I don't know if y'all saw this trend, but it was a little boy singing Finding Nemo. With he's with a little stick.
Yes, I tried so hard to figure out how to do it for church.
So you were inspired, but you just couldn't get it.
I sent it to our team. I was
just
like,
we used it, man, for young adults.
So
it's this little boy who he's like trying out for Finding Nemo, and he sings incredible. And the theater song is like, "Where's my dad? I'm all alone." And so we
searching for my heavenly father or something like that.
We had a young adult conference, and I said, "When you're too broke to pay for it."
Oh, I see.
Where's my dad? I'm all alone.
I was trying to think like something with God. And I was just like,
there's
nothing appropriate to fit with this.
Me crying in my bed, searching for my Heavenly Father. Where's my dad? I'm
so funny.
That's too sad, though.
That's
that might be triggering for people.
No, just have fun with
it. But no, that was one that
that
I was
one
like,
hit,
that's
man.
so good.
Yeah, this little Irish kid who was talking about like something he loves, and you guys posted it. So yeah, there's a lot of memes and stuff on there. But don't neglect TikTok. I mean, people, and you don't have to focus on followers. You mentioned it. We didn't get into it. But like people trying to get their follower count up. That's not what it's about.
No, not at all.
This social media is about who you're trying to reach. And our TikTok has 117 followers. Yeah. But like I said, we're getting a visitor or two a month from TikTok. Perfect. So who cares how many people follow you?
Because that one person can give the life of Jesus.
Exactly.
That's all that matters.
Exactly. And we definitely have people in our church, many people in our church who have gotten saved and baptized and now are serving our church who found us on Instagram, without a doubt. Including one of the people who actually helps run the Instagram now, Ashley. That's how she found us on Instagram.
So cool.
So, okay, Liv, so to close out, I want to know, because I don't want this to sound like you guys you don't have the posture of like, we're experts, do what we do.
No.
Right? I know you guys personally, they don't know. Trust me, that's not how they are. So then be vulnerable with us. Share with us something that you think Queen's Church or BT Church, each of you share, can be doing better. Yeah. Like what are you not doing well, or you're a little ashamed of, or you're like, I know we need to improve on that. Yeah. On your specifically on social media.
I feel like I've spoken to you about this already, about Facebook, utilizing Facebook a lot more for an online family.
Because of the groups feature, right?
There's a groups feature. As I was working on this workshop with you, I remember just being like, why don't we have like an online presence that's bigger than what we currently have? And I think it's funny that people might look at us as pros, but I don't feel that way. Yeah. Because I know that we can be doing so much more online all the time. So I do think that we can utilize Facebook more and have that online presence there.
Yeah, I think for us, and we've had these conversations with like our team, is social media consistency. Like you mentioned, like we have so many ministries, we have so many with our campuses, so we have a lot of social media pages, and all of them are not kind of run up to the level of excellence that we would like.
Gotcha.
And so the thing that I wish I can do better, and one thing I want to work on, is just training more people how to do it. And helping people see the confidence that they can do it. Like we do struggle with like if we announce, hey, like, you know, our worship team is growing, come try out, like boom, bunch of people come in.
You guys just did that last week.
We're doing it. The pop-up is coming up. I think it's today, the day we're recording. And if you're listening 6 years from now, but yeah. So like, or if we're like, hey, like we're looking for more greeters or whatever, like people, you know, they'll show up and serve. But for whatever reason, when we're looking for more social media managers, like it's really hard to get people to want to commit to that. So finding ways to show people that they can do it, give them confidence to do it, and train them really well is tough. But I really do think this. If as a pastor you put a lot of effort for a couple of months in the front end of helping someone with this, right, then you let them run, right? Yeah. Like if you're helping someone start a kids ministry or start a student ministry, like you are going to put a lot of effort and direction and vision into that. But then once they run, you start backing up. So do the same thing with social, like give someone confidence, help them see that they can do this, help them see what you would hope to see out of this. Or if you don't want to see anything out of it, at least let them run with it then. Yeah. So that you can be able to have that presence on there. But 100%. And I wish we can also scale down what we do with how many pages we have. There's a church I follow, and I talk to their communications director. Large church, their Instagram page has 10, 11,000 followers. Their YouTube page is really a lot of subscribers. And I asked them like, hey, like how many different social media pages do you guys have? They're like, one. I was like, one? For the whole church? Yeah, one. For every ministry, one. And I was like, oh my gosh, like really? Like I don't think we'd ever get to that point. But to like scale down, and what they said was one of the biggest benefits is everybody knows what we're doing across the board because everybody's following one page. Yep. So they're not like having to find different pages and platforms to see what what's happening as far as a advertising and promotional basis. But
especially since you can't control the algorithm, like you said before, you don't know if everyone's seeing everything this ministry posts.
But yeah, and so I think like just better training for people, and just consistency across the board of what our church looks like, because with multiple campuses, you kind of want people to feel like this is BT there, this is BT there, type of thing. And so yeah.
Well, then that is the perfect segue to the very closing segment of the podcast, which is we have a very special gift for you, listeners, watchers, viewers, and it will help a pastor do exactly what you just said.
Come on.
Start a social ministry, an online ministry, a digital ministry. It's a workbook that Danny and Olivia have created, especially for Queens Connexus. It is extensive, 32 pages, and it is step by step, from the apologetic to why this is important, all the way through the execution, how to begin a team, how to create vision for a team, and then how to equip, whether you're going to hire someone, an employee, or you need to have it run like Queen Church with volunteers. So that is our free gift to you. There's a form in the link right below this video, or if you're listening to it, there's a link there. And if you'll just fill out that quick form on our website, we will deliver that PDF to you for free. And they worked hard on this resource, and they don't, if you haven't noticed, they don't do things halfway. And the things that they do, they strive for excellence on. So I can guarantee you, because I've read it myself, it is an excellent workbook, and it will be good for you and for your church. So download that. And with that, we will say farewell. Plenty left unsaid, but maybe we'll have to have you guys back on the pod.
Come on.
At another point. Or maybe we can just start an entire Queens Connexus online digital ministry pod.
Oh, that'd be great.
Who knows? We'll see. But
that was fun.
Thank you guys. And
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.